What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 133. As you guys know, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and don't forget to leave a question on SpeakPipe. We'll be talking a little Cowboys schedule this episode, and with that, I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions about our sanity and what we think of some of these teams. But as always, I've got our local biggest Cowboy this side of the Mississippi, K-Dog, back with another week of talking football. Schedule released last week, and this week, we're diving into a little Cowboys football.
Right on.
About the most we can do at this very second.
That's right. How exciting it is.
Yes. It doesn't get much better.
Dreaming and imagining what might happen and where might they
how will
mess
they
it up?
Where will they mess it up? How will they do? On
That's
the bright
right.
side, kind of thinking about the Cowboys schedule. You know, last season, maybe not how every Cowboys fan wanted it to go, but throughout the season, they got better and better with Jerry's kind of frantic trades, frantic moves, but also, ultimately, I'd say pretty good roster moves. They definitely fixed some things late into the season that would have been nice if it was done earlier, but it did get addressed, and they had a pretty good draft. Yeah,
they were happy to move on from Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a lot not right, a lot not working. Jerry was vocally displeased. You could hear it in his press conferences toward the back third of the season especially. And the Cowboys went on to make a lot of moves expecting what was coming this next year, I think. And so they got started while the season was still going. I mean, they made some good moves with, again, their take on the Micah Parsons trade was we can have one guy or we can have an excellent one guy or we can have 4 or 5 maybe good guys. And again, when you've already got Dak Prescott at a unprecedented contract, and on top of that you've got CeeDee Lamb, and then you knew you had George Pickens coming up contract-wise, you just don't have enough money to have another superstar like that, really.
Let alone the injuries that were kind of stalling the Cowboys defensively.
Yeah.
When you're paying Micah Parsons and he can only do so much.
That's right.
There's an argument to be made about that defense. If the defense is good enough, that offense is high-powered right now.
That's right.
What are we doing?
Yeah. So they turned their attention to the defense, rightfully so, and that's where we found the rest of the focus of the offseason going between free agency, the draft, and again, here we go. So if the Dallas defense is even, in the top 15 compared to last year, and the offense can continue to play at the level that they did last season and stay healthy, of course, across the board, the Cowboys could be really looking at, a division championship is not out of the question.
Completely agree, and especially when you look at the draft, using those 2 first-round picks on Caleb Downs, which was a immaculate pickup for them at 5, and then on top of it, getting Malachi Lawrence from UCF Edge, also really good for what they need.
It really was, and I mean the Christian Parker pickup, part of that offseason, making those moves to get better, and the switch to the 3-4. Which again, I agree with it. I mean, with the way that quarterbacks do the run-pass option now, you really have to be able to occupy a lot more space. So you have to have not everybody jammed in like a 4-3. You have to be spread out more to be able to try to handle all that. And so setting those edges is such a critical piece. And Malachi Lawrence, Christian Parker, they're all pieces to that puzzle.
Completely agree. I mean, if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm happy with how maybe the season ended last season. I'm thinking all of these moves in the right direction. I'm thinking Jerry Jones is finally making some moves after the last few years of what it's felt like outside looking in as a secondary Cowboys fan, if you will, and just watching that whole thing become worse and worse, and now finally feeling like you got some life to the whole thing.
I think Jerry's starting to get just a little bit of pressure maybe from the family.
I bet
and maybe it's the grandkids who are asking, "Hey, Grandpa,
when do I get a piece of the pie?
We gonna win something significant anytime soon?" And Jerry Jones is very competitive. There's no doubt about it, and it's always said that the Cowboys are a marketing team first and a football team second, and there's truth to that. But I think you see a little more urgency that started around the mid part of last season. And I think it's continued through the offseason. The Caleb Downs pickup, and of course the draft had to fall right. The Cowboys were trying to move up and could not move up to get Caleb Downs. And they just had to sit there and hope that it happened the way that it did. And, the whole combination of these things, getting the coach and Christian Parker, getting the draft pick to fall into place, Caleb Downs, and getting the free agency to kind of come the way they needed it to, they've got a lot of things to be excited about, there's no doubt.
Truly. And on top of that, all of that, getting George Pickens to sign the franchise tag.
Right.
Very important. The running back, was that Williamson?
Javonte Williams?
Javonte,
yeah.
I mean, what an amazing season he had.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can keep up that sort of production,
Yep.
maybe he falls a little bit this season, that would be on record, but that's fine. He still had an immaculate season after I heard so many people dog walk the Cowboys for not taking the running back role seriously after he had an immaculate time on the Broncos.
Yeah.
Exciting things for the Cowboys, maybe not for the rest of the NFC East right now.
Yep.
But looking onto the schedule, why not just jump right into it?
Let's roll through it.
Off the top, the Cowboys have the 13th easiest schedule in the league. Opponents had a 49% winning percentage in 2025. DraftKings has the over-under projected at 9.5. Something to keep in mind as we go through this. Around this time, I think this article specifically came out a couple weeks ago. I'm using it just for having a nice place to look at all the games.
Sure.
So, Week 1, Sunday Night Football, travel to the Giants.
Yeah.
So, Giants also got a lot better.
They did.
We just got done talking with John Harbaugh.
John Harbaugh at the Miami University and Oxford graduation.
Yes, that was awesome to hear him talk.
It was really good.
He did it well. Regardless, the Giants certainly got a hell of a lot better.
They did.
All the key pieces they had on top of getting Arvell Reese, prominent on defense, as you see Dexter Lawrence go to the Bengals for the first round. And then on top of that, it brings over Isaiah Likely. That defense is going to be a bigger problem now that you've kind of sorted out some of those pieces that plagued them last year, i.e. Dexter Lawrence. I think he probably just wanted out. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Travel to the Giants.
Yeah.
What do you think early?
Going to be rough. When I talked in the prior podcast about the Cowboys not being able to beat the Ravens, John Harbaugh was the head coach of the Ravens.
So does that curse carry?
Yep. I think it carries over with the Giants now, and the Giants are, in fact, they're deep. In talent, and I think the Giants, John Harbaugh's home opener, they get off to a win here and beat the Cowboys.
I think so as well. For the only fact being that Giants team, obviously both teams will be fully healthy, knock on wood.
Yep.
But the Giants being healthy is more of a strength for them than I think the Cowboys just having another week.
Yep.
If you will.
Yep.
Then again, next week playing at Dallas versus the Commanders.
Yep.
I'm struggling to figure out how I feel about this. Commanders getting Sonny Styles, but that defense was not amazing last year. It feels like they added some pieces to it.
Yeah.
It's in Dallas. Jaden Daniels. I think Deebo Samuel's still a free agent.
Yeah, I think so.
But obviously, Scary Terry roaming deep down there.
Yep.
All those running backs. I kind of feel like Cowboys can win this one.
Yeah,
I give a slight edge just because it's at home for the Cowboys. But we see how they flip-flop with home games.
I really do think that they probably split them, and I think that the Dallas gets their home game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Washington Redskin Commanders, they get their home game.
Okay.
That's how I think it falls down.
That's kind of what I would predict just on paper now, so let's just go ahead and take care of that one there. Yeah. Okay. The Rio de Janeiro game versus the Ravens, Week 3.
As long as the Cowboys are in a curfew.
Yes.
And it is Rio de Janeiro, which apparently is a very fun place.
Are we going to predict the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens shenanigans?
Probably, a little bit of a challenge there with the curfew. We'll see what happens.
I feel like Week 3 is early enough to still take the season seriously.
Yeah, I hope so.
I can't remember when that curfew thing happened. Was that during Thanksgiving?
I think so, yeah.
Because they had Flournoy and Lockett? No, not Lockett's, I'm sorry. The other, Tolbert?
Yeah, it might have been Jalen Tolbert then.
But they sat Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
The great equalizer on the road, as we said last week, both going to Rio. Against the Ravens with Jesse Minter, who's been there last year against the Chiefs and won.
Yeah.
It greatly improved the defense quickly after the Chargers kind of had a terrible defense there for a little bit, or a struggling defense, I should say. Against the Ravens. These games have been high scoring. I think the Cowboys win in a shootout in this situation with, what's his name, dropping the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Flowers. Zay Flowers.
Yeah. I think the Cowboys probably get their first win against the Ravens in the history of the series.
All right. That would be the first win in the history?
The first win in the history of the series.
All right.
I think the Ravens have beat them every time.
Damn.
3 or 4 times.
Jeez, Pete.
So.
Okay.
Another team that Dallas has struggled with is Week 4.
At the Texans.
At the Texans. The very first game that the Texans ever played once they became the Houston Texans, they beat Dallas in the opener.
Damn.
At Houston.
That's tough.
And it was brutal. It was just brutal. I hated that game so bad.
Crosstown rivalry here a bit. I kind of like the Texans because it's at home for them.
I like the Texans at home. I think they kind of smacked the Cowboys in the mouth here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Rico Collins, is it?
D'Amico Ryans? Wait.
What's the wide receiver?
Collins?
Nico Collins, thank you. I think Cowboys defense is still kind of finding and gelling. And I think they burned Dallas over the top for a couple long touchdowns here.
All right, I could see it. Now, note for it, though, having Caleb Downs should be a huge improvement for them in this situation with Nico Collins being downfield somewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
But Tankdale, they've got a couple of them. At least from
you're right.
Week 5, Thursday Night Football versus Tampa Bay. This is at Dallas.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys bounce back. They have a thing about playing the Buccaneers. They love playing the Buccaneers. They've had a pretty good career against the Buccaneers, and I think Dallas starts to kind of show the signs of putting it all together here.
Yes, I would agree with that. And to be honest, when you're talking about the Tampa Bay, they fluctuate. They seem to have a similar pattern where they go back and forth quite a bit. And at Dallas, I think that it should work.
I think so.
Week 6, at Green Bay Packers, Sunday Night Football. Oh boy. We're going to have to talk about the curse again.
It's early.
It's early.
That's the only reason why I might lean Dallas.
I could see it. It's only October, was that 18th?
Yep.
They're playing the Packers. It won't be frigid yet.
That's right. Packers have had a pretty good stretch against Dallas and frustrated the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the Cowboys, because it's early in the season.
And it's not at Dallas.
But I think they get this one.
I think that helps them. I'm willing to put a win there for Dallas.
Let's go with that. What do you think?
We could label this the Cowboys break the streak. That's the season they're looking for right now.
And that is something, that game right there starts to show you it's a different season.
And that will tell you, like you said, is it the different or is it the same? Because if they drop it at Green Bay, which is a home game, so there's a little bit of, Cowboys fans are not dogging you, but we all know how the Cowboys have played against the Packers, specifically at Dallas.
That's right.
So they kind of have an out here with it being at Green Bay early in the year.
Yep. I think the Eagles handle the Cowboys in Week 7. I just, whatever reason, I don't remember how they split them last year. I think the first game was at Philly because they had won the Super Bowl.
Yes, and that was the first game of the season.
And they won. Yep. And then Dallas won the one at Dallas, I think, later
in the season. Yep.
Yeah, that was the one where the Eagles got up 21-0, and then Dallas came back and won the game.
Yeah, Eagles struggled late in the season last year.
Arizona Cardinals, I think Dallas thumps them, although Dallas had trouble with Arizona with Jacoby Brissett last year.
I'm curious to see how the quarterback situation evolves for Arizona. Jacoby Brissett has been nothing but glorious for them in the last few games of the season, trying to scrounge up any sort of offense that he can make, which was more than most teams expected.
Yeah.
But I think the Cowboys have more of a complete team, at least at this moment on paper.
Yeah.
Week 9 at Colts.
Yeah, I think Dallas handles the Colts here. I think Indy probably puts up a pretty good fight, but I think Dallas finds a way to get the win.
I could see that. It's on the road in a dome. Obviously, the Colts, a little bit more of an interesting team looking at them this year compared to this time last year. To go on that run with Daniel Jones, I think Cowboys managed to figure it out.
Yep.
Week 10, November 15th, at Dallas versus the 49ers.
Here's another game like the Packers. What kind of season are we having?
Yep.
And we both agree that the Niners are not, last year dealt with a lot of injuries. That is not who the Niners are when they're healthy. They are a very good team, extremely well coached. And I think they upend Dallas here in Dallas.
A little bit of an awakening, if you will, for the Cowboys after a couple games winning there.
Yep.
Now, at Dallas again versus the Titans.
I think Dallas bounces back here in a big way. I think Dallas probably blows Tennessee out like 38-10, something like that.
I could see it being more like that sort of game.
Yep.
Now, Thanksgiving game versus Eagles at Cowboys now.
Yeah. I think Dallas wins this game. They love playing at home on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to kind of find their footing. I think the Niners game that was a loss probably still was a good game for Dallas, even though they lost it. And I think they start to show what I expect them to show in the second half of the year here by beating the Eagles on Thanksgiving.
I would agree a split right now is feasible, especially with the Eagles dealing with what they had last year. And the injuries on the O-line the Eagles had, I feel like the Cowboys have also doubled down on defense like we talked about. We should get more of a good matchup here heading into the season.
I agree.
Week 13 at Seattle, Monday Night Football. That's going to be a tough one to hit on the road.
These are interesting. So you have at Seattle, you have a bye, and then you have at the Rams.
This is a stretch of game.
This is make or break the season.
And the schedule maker's giving you a bye in between.
What a blessing.
What a blessing.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry must have slid the wallet across the table and said, hey, man.
Hey, a bye right there would be real cool.
Do you mind holding my wallet?
I think.
I think Seattle wins this game.
Okay.
I think Dallas is not quite, maybe they're a little bit intimidated by the Super Bowl winning team there.
Yeah. At Seattle's tough at night as well.
Yeah,
I mean, there's an element to the elements here.
There is.
That could very well play in December.
Yep. So I just think this is going to be a loss.
Okay.
Yep.
You know what? I would agree with that. Bye week, obviously. Then, like you said, at the Rams, Week 15, that's going to be tough because we don't know what we're going to get with the Rams late in the season. Not to say that injuries will plague them, but it was definitely a talking point this last year.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys at this point go on a 3-game win streak.
Okay.
That separates them.
All right.
And I think it starts with the bye week.
Yep.
Getting yourself right to end the season, and I think they actually beat the Rams in LA.
I like it. I like that sort of confidence from a Cowboys fan. I think it's feasible. Late in the season, I'd rather play the Rams later in the season than earlier because you don't know where either team's going to be. Yep. And I'd take the gamble on getting a leg up on the Rams in that point of view.
The Jaguars are next here in Week 16.
Sunday Night Football.
They have been a thorn in the Cowboys, just like they have the Chargers.
Yes.
We saw the game that the Cowboys were up by 2 touchdowns, so the Jaguars came back and won that game, ironically at Disney.
Yeah, I remember that. That was brutal.
Frustrating as hell. But I think the Cowboys are a better team at this point than what the Jaguars are.
Yeah.
And I think that they get the win here.
Yep, I would agree with that. It's at Dallas. The Jaguars have dealt with late season. Well, no, they picked it up last season. I don't know. The Jaguars are a weird team. I picked them to win the Super Bowl going into the playoffs. I felt like they were the most complete. Now they've lost Travis Etienne. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, huh?
January 3rd, Week 17, versus the Giants. Lost to them earlier in the season. This feels like probably a split.
Probably a split. What I'm thinking about is some of the talent that Dallas has acquired. So D. Winters, linebacker from the Niners, going to provide great depth. They had the Michigan linebacker they picked up, Jayshawn Barham.
Okay.
Barham. And this guy is going to be kind of the freelancing linebacker. He's going to be blitzing a lot.
Okay.
He's going to be rushing the passer a lot. And I think in this stretch of games, I think he comes alive and somebody you wouldn't think about. And I'm trying to think of the name. You help me pronounce this. He was with the Chargers. Otito Ogbonnia. Remember him?
Yes. He was fun. I don't remember how to pronounce his name one bit.
So he's with the Cowboys now.
Right.
He is going to be another sleeper guy.
Mm-hmm.
These two guys that nobody really even knows about when it comes to Dallas at the moment.
Yep.
These two guys are going to be instrumental down the stretch.
I completely agree.
My prediction.
So then we got win there.
Yep.
One more loss for 11-6.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair prediction.
Yeah, I think the last game there against Washington, I don't know. Maybe there's
that so many factors play in the week.
It's so hard to know, but I just think again, no matter what it is, Washington at Washington late in the season is a tough game to win.
And if I had to tell you what I think are going to be instrumental games for the Cowboys, just looking at how this schedule lines up, I'm looking at the Cowboys to win Week 5 because of the next 2 games after that. Packers, Eagles. If they win that one and go into it with a pretty solid headspace, I think that's going to be crucial. I also think at the Colts. No, not really at the Colts. I lied. I lied right straight through my teeth. 49ers, like you said.
Yeah, to me, that at Packers, home against the Niners, those 2 games, because no matter what they do with the Eagles in the division, It's those two games with those guys outside the division that always seem to cause them a problem.
And these are in-conference games.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Those are going to play a key part in being able to say who you beat and who you lost to. That's as much as the division matters.
Yep.
If the division itself is cannibalizing each other, you've got to win those out of division in-conference games to have a leg up on whoever they slip to.
And they just haven't done a great job of that. They've had. I mean, Dak Prescott has had really great records against the division opponents overall, but outside of that, whole nother story.
Yep.
Winning team, whole other story versus somebody mediocre. They thump who they should thump, but they can't seem to match up outside the division with somebody who should be their equal, like the Niners or the Packers or the Seahawks, the Rams.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the telling games, to your point.
And getting the week at 13 and 15 game split with a bye late in the season will give them a great idea of how everyone else has done up until that point.
That you said it. I mean, that bye, the location of that bye, I haven't really looked at it as close as we just did, but 2 road games against the Rams and the Seahawks with a bye between is massive.
That is a blessing for the Cowboys and the Cowboys fans looking at this season, because that is going to be a tough, honestly, 4 or 5 weeks that you split in half by that bye.
It'll be interesting to see if they go back home on the bye. I guess they would. Or if they do something, sometimes teams will do something unusual and go to like a college or something like that. I don't know. I could see, depending on how they're doing, they intensify their focus and don't go back to Dallas then.
Yeah, because you'll be in the West Coast for 2 games, but they're in a row. So if you stay on the bye, you can still train over there and not have to worry about the difference. But a lot of East Coast games surrounding that West Coast stretch. So I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed there, because from the Titans, Eagles, your East Coast, and then your West Coast for 2 weeks with a bye, and then you're right back to the East Coast after it. So it might make sense for them to do it. I don't know. I can't remember what Schottenheimer did last year or what Jerry Jones has done historically.
They have their Oxnard, California is where they go for training, the training camp.
So they could
go to Oxnard for a week in between there.
I don't think it's a crazy thing to say, especially if the DraftKings over-under win as of when this article came out, which should still be 9.5. I don't hate taking an over in this, because really what you're going to be gambling on overall is how they match up against the NFC West. Yeah. And out loud, I would say probably not going to match up great.
Right.
But getting a bye between those 2 games, even though they're in a row, not the worst.
At least it helps a little bit. Yeah.
It does.
Because I've got them going, 1-2, or what is it?
Lost, win, 1-1. You have them going 1-2.
1-2,
So they just have to do, even if they go 0-3.
Yeah.
As long as that Commanders game at the end of the season matters, they want to win it.
Right.
They definitely could.
Yeah. And a couple of the big keys for the Cowboys, you said it, and I think the prior podcast you talked about Javonte Williams, or maybe you said it in this one.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams, he's durable again, as long as he can stay durable. And then the other 2 guys is Tyler Guyton, the left tackle.
Yes.
He was hurt a lot last year and struggled. And DeMarvion Overshown, the linebacker who's so incredibly talented from Texas. If those 2 guys, and especially Overshown, can stay healthy, that guy is so quick sideline to sideline. Mm-hmm. And if they can just make it through a season, it would be incredible.
Yeah, having out-of-division opponents, Buccaneers, Packers, early in the season is wonderful. Getting blessed with the Cardinals is wonderful. Again, the NFC West situation, and then you get the Giants and Commanders, as usual, late in the season. Those games will change in there, how much they matter from right now, what we think is going to happen, till week 15, depending on how they do against the Rams, or even going into the bye at week 14.
Yeah.
Because that might change depending on where the Cowboys are lining up against the rest of their division at that point.
Yeah, very true.
And having Eagles early lets you plan for that.
That's true. And it really, when you look at the schedule, it's really kind of like 1 week you got a shot, 1 week it's going to be tough. 1 week you got a shot. You always have a shot, but some of these matchups are much tougher than others.
Yes, and a few of them are in a row. Some of them are alternating, which is also good, because then the record doesn't get away from you. Like some teams, as I always expect, there's going to be a couple teams in here that have 5 weeks of hell, and then 5 weeks of not hell. So they might go 0-5 to start the season, then end up 5-5 by the end of week 10.
Yeah,
it just kind of depends.
Yeah, and let's go back and touch on probably the biggest thing of all is Dak Prescott staying healthy.
Yeah.
Because if based on what we saw with the Cowboy backups, The guy that came over from the Patriots.
Oh, yeah. Well,
oh, gosh.
Good Lord. I mean, Trey Lance is on the team. You also have, the guy with the arm.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I can't think of his name offhand.
I can see his face in my head, but I can't think of his name to save my life.
But when I did see him play in the preseason last year, I was like, oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious why the Patriots were like, good luck.
And they got Sam Howell that they signed, who was with the Commanders at one point.
Notre Dame's old quarterback.
Yeah, so...
Gorgeous hair.
But Dak has got to stay healthy. They have got to keep him upright and safe and protected for sure.
This record, on paper, it's May, of course, is going off of every team stays healthy. That never happens. One of these teams, the Cowboys, who knows, will have an injury where it's like, yes, they will slip all three of these games, and that is simply how it's going to be. They don't have what's-his-name anymore that did so well when Dak was out for that 5-game stretch.
That's right. Yeah, no more Red Ball or whatever he is.
Yeah. But that's how it goes. Nevertheless, anything else, Dad?
That's it.
Hell yeah. Well, that'll do it for our episode of the Coy Pond this week. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time on the pond. Peace.